we gave them both. So we're here to help, and we have developed an expertise on brownfields, so please, when we talk about community development, it's very broad what we do. We work on recreation projects, we work on housing, village revitalization, downtown revitalization, anything that makes a community vital, quality of life. What we don't do is we don't do the business planning. That's where I leave for my friends at BDCC. But we're there to help you. We're there to help you write grants, if limited grant assistance, because it's really myself, and maybe I can grab some other time from a couple other staff members. But we can kind of do some coaching on grants, and we do that. We do a lot on project implementation assistance, and right now I'm working on implementing Saxon's River Park project, which came out of our Brownfields program, and just helping them manage that project. We do have a landscape designer on staff, so if you need a quick design assistance, sometimes we can help you.
Do you do residential?
No, we don't do residential. Are you looking to build?
Landscape.
Landscape. But, you know, we are not there to compete with your municipal services. We're there to augment your municipal services. And as you were mentioning, one area that we are very interested in is the forestry sector, and we have a program right now that we can give assistance to municipalities, schools, and nonprofit organizations on modern wood heat. And we're interested in actually building that sector up, and it's been very successful, and it continues. So we've actually extended the program for another 2 years. So if you have a building in your community that might benefit by, when we say modern wood heat is a wood boiler, please come see me, and we're getting ready to put out a solicitation to take in a couple more projects. So, yeah, and as I said, we have staff on very different things, so please give us a call if you need any help.
Are we going just right across? Is there a particular order?
How do you feel, John?
I'm flexible.
You can go first.
What's that?
No, you gotta follow the list.
We'll write down.
Okay, all right.
Come on,
Sure.
We'll mix it up.
So, given the topic today is municipal support, I'll tailor most of the comments to that, but start with just a bit of a general overview. Apologies for those in the room who've heard this or know this already, but we are filming this for future municipalities, so I'll stick to script. The BDCC is one of the 12 regional development corporations in the state of Vermont, and as such we receive funding directly from the Agency of Commerce and Community Development to be the eyes, ears, and boots on the ground in the region for economic development. So for that we have a performance contract that we have to work through every year and have responsibilities to meet that. So that's one part of what we do. An example would be just going around and meeting with businesses, meeting with municipalities, meeting with select boards, meeting with town managers is all part of that. So often in our work we'll be doing that, and sometimes we'll be showing up as members of SeVEDs. So SeVEDs is an affiliate entity of the BDCC, started here in the Valley through some efforts really back in 2007, really starting to scratch our heads and saying, you know, why don't we have broadband, why don't we have cell coverage, what's going on? That started to grow, and eventually SeVEDs was formed. SeVEDs has no employees, so SeVEDs contracts with the BDCC to implement its mission. So SeVEDs is a standalone entity, has its own board of directors, and then all the staff implements the mission from the BDCC. We take that mission, we turn it into programs to drive the economy. So some of those programs will work specifically with municipalities. Many are programs that are aimed at the general business community. And then most recently with our efforts in the workforce development, working directly with schools in the region. So currently we're working with all 4 Windham County high schools. The Fast Track Success Program has been greatly successful. That's funded in part through the Vermont Department of Labor. That has had 135 students participate this year alone, and that's experiencing career pathways, that's getting on buses, going and visiting with various manufacturers and businesses across the county. It's getting in a bus and going up to Montpelier to learn about the government and how the state government is directing its resources into the schools and economic development. In addition, the BDCC has a development services. So most recently, we've worked with the town of Brattleboro in the retention and expansion of GS Precision. So that was in support with the state of Vermont and the federal New Market Tax Program, the CDBG program. So we worked with Brattleboro, the municipality of Brattleboro, to understand what resources were available that they could bring to that deal to ensure that that happened. And through that, we were able to receive a $1 million community development block grant program, and that has very specific performance measures that have to be monitored over the life of that grant. Happy to report that GS Precision has already hired 35 of those jobs of the 50, and overwhelming majority of those 35 are from LMI, which is low and moderate income families, which meets the requirements of the CDBG program. Most recently, we just finalized a deal with the town of Rockingham for Chroma, similarly bringing community development block grants and new market tax credits to that project. So that's a $22 million project where Chroma will expand its facilities, put a lot of new equipment in there, and hire more people. Doing another project with the town of Brattleboro again, with Commonwealth Dairy. That's upwards of a $25 million project to expand the facility. Again, also working with the municipality, AOT, the federal government, all through the sewer line, which goes under 91, which goes to the state rests area, which goes down to Brattleboro. So the towns and the municipalities have found ways to leverage their position through tax stabilization and other mechanisms that help incentivize the activities of those companies. So often the municipality is too busy to do all of this. So by bringing together a coalition of the willing through the BDCC and bringing in all the various parties, the role we play, while not necessarily doing any of those individual items, is making sure everyone's at the table and keeping our foot on the accelerator, and just making sure everyone's moving forward and continuing to bring resources that allow that gap to be filled, which the gap is our rural challenge, in that it costs $250 to build the factory per square foot, and the day you're done, it's worth $70. So the bank will loan you maybe 80% of the 70, and you have to get the rest. So that's really the role we've started to fill with our development services. We call it a tax-efficient financing because we're a nonprofit. So we bring all those resources into our organization, invest them in the project, and the project benefits 100% of those that turnaround. And so far, the projects we've been able to do, we're filling that gap. So lastly, I would say, a big part of that work, especially in Rockingham, a result was the Island Project, the Robertson Paper Mill. Susan and Windham Regional have been instrumental in making that project move forward. Originally, that's where Chroma had wanted to go, and the local development organization purchased the property and decided that that facility was not going to be able to support Chroma's expansion. So suddenly they're left owning this giant building in their downtown with no use. For anyone in the local audience, that might sound familiar. So Susan, in her experience with the Brownfield in the state of Vermont, the Agency of Commerce and Community Development, the EPA, Natural Resources, have been able to bring her Brownfields program to that, and it's been extremely successful to date. We're not done, but through Susan's leadership and being able to know who in the state to bring to that, we're confident that we'll be able to have identified enough funds to be able to demolish the building to cap it and turn it into a developable site. I think I'll pause there and maybe just reserve the rest of the time afterwards for any conversation and pass it to our team.
Okay, good afternoon. What I hope to convey to folks are some of the programs that we have in place to help really what drives the economy in southern Vermont, which is small business. While Adam referenced some of the larger projects, in a national context, even those companies which are larger are truly considered small businesses. And then we have all the rest, which are businesses that are between 1 and 20 or 20 and 40 and 50. So I represent or administer a program called the Windham County Economic Development Program, and it represents access to capital, if you will. So it's the funds that were provided to the state and therefore the county due to the closure of Vermont Yankee, and its purpose is really to help the economy grow. So businesses or projects are able to access those funds if they meet certain eligibility criteria, as well as nonprofits whose mission it is to focus on economic development infrastructure. My go-to examples for that are things like co-working or an accelerator or an incubator. Some of the projects Adam referenced, like GSP and Commonwealth, they've utilized the program, but also some very small projects, a builder, a brewery, as well as a good number of other projects. The funds can be accessed for several different uses. They can be used for property acquisition or improvements, can be used for equipment, as well as working capital. And it's at a very attractive interest rate. It's 2%, so it helps the business grow and not take on too much debt burden. The other program that I'm going to touch on is a program that I teasingly referred to myself as the head instigator, and it's a program that is described in a sheet back there, but it's really the result of a feasibility study that we concluded in May of last year, and that feasibility study identified a gap in really helping businesses get from idea stage to something more than idea stage. So we're developing, and we have developed some programming to help people do that. So we'll be introducing a startup lab. We've talked about reintroducing the business plan competition, but it's really a series of workshops and events to help people connect and get those ideas sort of bouncing off of each other and ignited, so that we can help people realize their, in some cases, their dreams, but in some cases, just a very real business. So I think that's it for me.
Thanks. I do have some handouts here you can take. Again, John Muise with USDA Rural Development. I'll start out at a 30,000-foot view, and then I can go down to programs that specifically would work with community economic development for municipalities. So USDA is a very diverse and large agency. There's probably 7 mission areas that exist under the department, and one of them is rural development. And rural development is comprised of actually 3 agencies. We have a rural housing service, we have a rural business and cooperative service, and we have a rural utility service. The mission at USDA Rural Development is to increase economic opportunity and improve the quality of life of rural America. And we do that through financing mechanisms. So the reason that we're under the Department of Ag is we are the only federal agency that focuses on rural America. So we have guarantees in our program. So a bank will come to us and say, we'd love to do this project, for example, like a food cooperative in a downtown area, a very specialized piece of collateral. Bank says, we probably want to get some help and insurance on that. So we have the ability to guarantee commercial loans. Then we have direct lending that comes right out of our offices. We have about 50 staff people across Vermont and New Hampshire that administer a lot of our programs. And then we have the all-elusive grant programs. And none of the programs that I'll talk about today are created equally. They are accessed at different levels, whether it's nationally, state, or local. And their criteria might vary too, because we're working with 3 separate agencies, if you will, into one area. I think community and economic development, it's about the ships, right? It's leadership, having people in the communities that want to do projects. And then it's the partnerships that I think we all have here. And everything that was mentioned up here, we are behind the scenes in some way, shape, or form, which is really exciting. We're not out in front saying, rural development's the place to go. We're helping others do the projects they need to get done. So under our, all the programs we have may not be the main purpose for community and economic development, but they assist in it. So, we have a rural housing program which funds multifamily housing complexes. So for seniors, elderly that want to live in places that are affordable, we have those type of projects. We have a single-family housing program. So when you talk about businesses and people needing places to live so that they can afford to live there and work